Guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm Tashina, and you can see this is not Portia. This is my daughter's Jaden. She's gonna be taking her spot for today. Portia's doing fine. Her surgery went good. She's healing. She should be able to film the next video with me next Monday. So today we're going to be talking about Maddie Clifton. She's actually the one that told me about Maddie Clifton. She's seen it on TikTok. So I did research. So today's story is going to be involved of a child's death. I'm not going to go too much into detail, but I am going to discuss how she died. So if this is something that you can't, it triggers you, or you don't like hearing about child death, then this is not the video for you. But if you want to continue to watch and listen to the story, then keep on watching. So let's get inside. Let's get into the dark side of humans. It was November 3rd, 1998, and Maddie Clifton came home from school like she normally does. It was around 4 o'clock. She lives on Flintwood Road in Jacksonville, Florida. She comes home, she gets on the piano like she normally does. She plays piano for about 20 minutes. She practices every day for about 20 minutes, and then she went outside to go play. Maddie was described as a tomboy. She loved to play baseball. She loved to play sports. She also was girly too. She loved dance. And she's also described as tough as nails. So she goes out and plays with the neighbors. She's hitting golf balls. So she's playing with the neighborhood kids, and she runs out of golf balls. So she's like, I'm about to go home and go get some more golf balls. She's playing with one guy and actually another little kid from the neighborhood, and he's like, I'll go with you to go get the balls. So they went back to Maddie's house, and Maddie was trying to find the balls, and he's sitting downstairs waiting for her. And he's saying it's taking her quite a long time to find the balls. So he was like, hey Maddie, when you go find the balls, come back. I'm about to go back and continue to hit golf balls. So she's like, okay. And that was the last time that Maddie was seen alive. So around, I want to say around 6-ish, like 5:45, 6-ish o'clock, around that time, the mom was calling for her and her. She has an older sister, which is 11 years old. Her name is Jessica. She's calling from them to come in to eat. So she calls Jessica. Jessica comes in right away, but Maddie is nowhere to be found. So Maddie's mom is like, Jessica, where's Maddie? And Jessica's like, I haven't seen her. So Maddie's mom goes out and starts yelling, looking for Maddie, knocking on the neighbors' doors, asking where Maddie's at. Jessica gets on her bike and she's riding down the street. They live like on a cul-de-sac, so everybody knows everybody. So they're going around trying to find Maddie. So all the neighbors start coming out, and they also start yelling and helping her look. So I say good maybe 20-30 minutes go by, and Maddie's mom was like, this is serious. I'm going to call the police. So she calls the police, but the search for Maddie continues all through the night, and they still cannot find Maddie. So the next day, the detectives come out, and they go around the neighborhood, and they're knocking the doors, and they're asking the neighbors questions, and where were their whereabouts? Have they seen Maddie? When was the last time they seen Maddie? Nobody has seen her. It turns out that one of her friends that she was hitting golf balls with was a 45-year-old man named Larry Grisham. I think that's how you say his name. That was the neighbor that she was playing with. So of course the detective he's gonna be a person of interest. What is a 45-year-old man doing playing with the 8-year-old girl? What do you think about that?
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
I know, like, he's gonna be questioned because that's suspicious.
Yeah, because he's 45 years old playing with an 8-year-old girl. So they take him in, and it doesn't make any better that he has a criminal background. He has 28 convictions, which mostly they were like theft and robbery, stuff like that. But he did have 2 sexual assaults. They were like 15 and 20 years ago, but they were both dropped. But none of those sexual assaults were on children. But it doesn't quite sit right. So they take him in and they question him, and they actually give him a lie detector test, which he fails. Which, you know, that to me, that doesn't really, because, you know, you can't even use lie detectors in court, because he could have just been really nervous and he could have failed it. But, so yeah, he failed it. So they end up questioning him 20 times. They search his house 9 times. They come up with nothing, but they really feel like this is our guy. This is who has Maddie, or this is who can lead us to where Maddie's at. But he also has a solid alibi. People seen him in the neighborhood. He was outside, visible. Everybody seen he was home around the time she went missing. He was clear. So he's clear. So then they don't know where to look. Like, it's like she just vanished out of thin air. Like, they don't have no leads. No strangers. Like, it was nobody that didn't live in that neighborhood that walked around. Like, it was no strangers, no strange cars, no nothing that. So it's been 5 days since Maddie went missing. So at this point, they are looking for a body. So they bring in the FBI and they're looking, you know, in trash, in trash cans and in areas, you know, just in areas where a body could be hidden. Because at this point, they feel like they're looking for a body. Because every hour that a child is missing, it's unlikely that the child's going to be found alive. And it's actually been 5 days. So Maddie's parents decide to hold a press conference. So they hold a press conference and they just plead with the people that have, like, if you have my daughter, please bring my daughter home. And we're offering a $50,000 reward for anybody that has any information that can lead to Maddie's safe return home. And they even kind of insinuated that they were going to double the $50,000, which was going to be a $100,000 reward to bring their daughter home. 2 days after, they even went to on TV and did you know, an interview and was trying to, you know, plead for whoever to bring Maddie home. 2 days after, so in 7 days, Maddie's body was found. So let's go to 3 doors down from Maddie's Clifton's house. We're just going to the Phillips house. So Miss Phillips, she was getting ready to go to work, and she already sent her son, Josh Phillips, was a 14-year-old boy, off to school. She knows that a strong smell was coming from his room, but he doesn't clean his room very good. She's always telling him to clean his room all the time, and he also has birds that he doesn't keep up with cleaning their cages very well. So if you don't clean their cages, it does start to smell. But she said this smell was different. This was a very strong smell. So she had a couple hours before she had to go to work. So she grabbed some plastic bags. She's like, I'm about to go in this room and I'm about to clean this room up because this room stinks. So she goes in the room and she starts cleaning, and she looks over it and she sees like water coming from her son's bed. Like there's a wet spot, which he has a water bed. So she's like, oh, great, his bed's leaking. No telling how long his bed's been leaking. There's probably mildew. That's probably why the mildew smell and the smell of the birds, that's probably where the smell's coming from. So she goes over to the bed and she sees that black electric tape is taped around the corners of the bed. She's like, I've never seen it. Like, why is he taping his bed? So she undoes the tape and she sees like a white sock. So she's tugging on the white sock. And it will not come loose. Like, it's not coming loose. She just keeps tugging it and it's just not coming loose. So then she grabs it and she feels something. Like, okay, this is weird. Let me go get a flashlight. So she gets a flashlight because, it's kind of dark in between there. So she gets a flashlight and she's like, she's still tugging and she finally tugs, the sock comes loose, but she feels something and it's cold. So she lifts up the mattress in between the mattress and the box spring. There's like a little, I don't know how to say, whatever, empty space. So she lifts this up and she flashes the flashlight, and that's where she sees Maddie Clifton's body. How would you feel if you were cleaning your kids, like, when you grow up and you have a kid, and you're cleaning this room? How would you feel if you found the body of a missing girl under your son's bed?
I would feel scared, and I wouldn't know what to do and stuff.
Yeah, that's a very, I don't know what, I can only imagine what found that body. Like, if I was cleaning my son's room and I don't know what I would do if I found, and I know I'm out here helping them search for for Maddie. He was out there help searching for the Maddie. He actually was, he printed out the flyers. He was passing out flyers for Maddie. And all along, this little girl's body has been under my son's bed all this time. Like,
I would be like in shock.
I don't know what else. So she's like, oh my gosh. So first thing she does, she calls her husband. Her husband's at work. So she calls her husband, and he doesn't answer because he's at work. So she leaves a message like, you need to come home now. It is an emergency. So she hangs up and she's standing there. She's like, I need to tell somebody. So she knows that there's cops at the Clifton's house. So they've actually had cops stationed at the Clifton's house to watch the other daughter, Jessica, because they don't know what's going on. They don't know if somebody's targeting the Cliftons, if they kidnapped Maddie, and if Jessica's in danger. So they kept the cops there to, to look after Jessica, just in case. So she runs over there, and there's a cop sitting in his car. And she's like, you need to come to my house now. He was like, what do you, she's visibly shaking. She's crying. He could see that he's like, okay, what do you want me to see? She was like, you just need to come now. Like, you just need to come now. So he was like, okay. So he calls two detectives, plainclothes detectives, and they go into the Phillips house. And she's like, it's in there. She's like, I can't go in there. I do not want to go back in that room, but it's in there. So they go in there, and as cops, they know the smell of death. They smell the death. They know the smell of decay. So as soon as they went in there, they said they smelled it. It hit their nose. And they look, and they see Maddie's two little feet sticking out from under the bed. So they have to go over there and tell Maddie Clifton's parents that all this time, Maddie's been 3 doors down under this little boy's bed. So that's what they do. They go and they tell them, and of course, you can only imagine the reaction and how they felt. They still had hope that they were going to find Maddie, alive, and now, she was 3 doors down, and she's under this little boy's bed that's been living 3 doors down. Josh used to play with Maddie and Jessica. He was out there helping them search, and all this time you had my daughter under your bed. So it's just, I can't even imagine what they felt and the pain that. Could you imagine that?
No, I would be mad.
I would be very angry. I don't know. I would want
upset.
Yes.
Like all kind of emotions
at one time. So they go, and even Josh Phillips' mom describes that she knows when she's walking towards the Clifton's house, she knows that she's about to destroy the Clifton's hope, because she knows that they still have hope. They still have hope, and she's about to destroy it. That's how she said. That's how she described it. And she said she knew when she was pulling on the sock, she knew what it was, but she just couldn't get herself to believe what it was. But she kind of knew. She felt the foot in the sock. But so the cops go. So Josh is at school. So the cops ask, like, where's Josh at? And she was like, he's at school. So he's a 14-year-old boy. He's in the 9th grade. He is described as a normal kid. He loves animals. He loves science. He has tons of friends. He's not a loner. He doesn't show any signs of a disturbed kid, of a kid that you're like, oh, like there's something wrong with him. Like he's kind of creepy and we need to stay away from him. He didn't show any of those signs. I mean, he wasn't great in school. He was a C average kid, but I mean, he had tons of friends. He was in Boy Scouts or whatever scouts he was in.
He was a little weird though.
I mean, yeah. He had another side to him. So the Cliftons found Josh. They broke into their house, and they were in Jessica's, their 11-year-old daughter's room. And he installed a picture out of their house. Now, he's a 14-year-old boy. He has a crush on this 11-year-old girl. And also the grandma, the Cliftons' grandma, the Cliftons' girl's grandma, overheard him telling them sexual jokes and stuff. So she was like, So the Clifton was like, you can't hang out with my daughters no more. Like, you guys are banned from hanging out front with him. There's something wrong with him. It's just not normal for this 14-year-old boy to want to be hanging out with my little girls. So, no, you're not hanging out with them. So the cops were like, all right, let's go get Josh from school and let's go question him. So they get Josh from school and they start questioning him, and then he ends up confessing. He ends up giving them a full confession. So he tells them that day he was in his house, and Maddie came knocking on the door. So he says that he's in his house and he's doing chores, and Maddie knocks on the door, and Maddie says, you want to come out and play? And he told her no at first. He was like, no, I can't come out and play. I have chores to do, and my dad's going to be home soon, and he's going to be angry if I don't get my chores done. And he told the cops, he's like, I had like 20 chores that need to be done. And the parents did, confirm that he does have they give him a lot of things to do. Like, he has to vacuum, and he has to clean his room, and they just give him a lot of things to do because he's home alone while they're at work. So they're trying to keep him busy and out of trouble until the dad comes home from work. So they try to keep him, busy. He's also admitted to the police officers that he sometimes don't do his chores. He just searched the web on the computer, searched the web. And they also found when they searched his room. So while they're interviewing him, there's other cops back at his house searching his room. So as they're interviewing him, they found on his computer that he was surfing the web, but he was looking up pornographic websites, but with child pornography, with violence against children and stuff like that. Later on, his parents tried to say that was planted. Okay. But anyways, so he's outside raking, raking the leaves. he was outside raking the leaves, and little Maddie comes back, and Maddie was like, come on, let's go play, let's throw the baseball around, let's go, she just keeps asking me, he says. So finally he gives in, and he says, okay, I can only play with you for a little while. So they're, pitching the ball back and forth to each other. And he said he throws the ball, he accidentally hits Maddie in the face with the baseball above her left eye. And it leaves a gash, and she starts screaming. And he says she's screaming, and she's bleeding, and she has a gash above her eye. And he's like freaking out, like he does not know what to do. Like, all he keeps thinking is like, my dad's going to be mad, be outside. Anyways, I'm going to be in so much trouble. So he says that he drags her into his house, and he's like putting his hand on her mouth, and he's trying to get her to be quiet, and she just will not be quiet. So he says he gets the baseball bat, and he hits her over the head like 4 times. He says really hard. And she's like still moaning, and she's still like, she's not dead. You would think that would kill this little girl, but she's still moaning. So then he gets his Leatherman, his little knife, and he slashes her throat, and he stabs her in the neck, and then he shoves her under the bed. Then he has blood on his hands, he has blood on him, so he goes into the bathroom and he cleans up or whatever, and he comes back into the room, and he still hears her moaning. He says she's still moaning. So he pulls her back from underneath the bed, and he stabs her again like 9 times until she just stops breathing. Then he puts her back under the bed. And then his dad comes home. His dad said usually when he comes home, he runs out there to him, and he hugs him, and he says, what's for dinner? And this time, he didn't really come out right away. But then he finally came out, and he was like, hi, Dad, and, what's for dinner? And, just the small talk, and he was like, I'm going to go back into my room. So he went back into his room right away. So while they're searching his room, they find a whole bunch of incense, they find cans of Febreze, cans of odor eater, they find black electric tape, they find the bat, they find it behind the bookshelf, they find the Letterman's penknife, and what's creepy is he has the missing poster of Maddie sitting on his bookshelf, like he can see it from his bed. So I'm like, you're sleeping on your bed with this little girl underneath your bed, her poster right there, and you're like looking at it, like it's real That part was creepy, right?
Yeah, I would feel guilty.
I mean, for him to be able to, that's how, this is just my opinion, that's a psychotic behavior, because you're able to pretend like you're just able to live your life, go to school and hang out with your friends.
Yeah, while like this little girl's under your bed.
And do your bed, and you're over there helping, and you're helping search. You're literally helping them search for her. You're passing out flyers. You're helping search for her. It's just
Psychotic.
Yeah, and it's mind blowing that this little 14-year-old boy
can do that.
Can do this. That's my belief. That I believe that killers are born. I mean, some people, I believe that some of them are made too, but yeah. So this 14-year-old boy is able to do this. Like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Okay, let's get back to it. So they find the Leatherman knife, and then, like I said, they've seen the poster. They also find some shoes that have some blood on it, and it comes back that is Maddie Clifton's blood. They also found blood on the ceiling fans. And the ceiling, they have a very high ceiling, so that is a hell of a blood spray. So for him, so he had to hit her very hard for that blood spray to spray up to that high ceiling. Like, it's just, imagine, I just can't really imagine what that little girl was going through. So they remove the fans and they take it to the lab, and that also turns out to be Maddie Clifton's blood on the ceiling fans. And they also found, which is real creepy, they found the missing picture from Jessica Clifton, that the 11-year-old sister of Maddie. He has a picture of her in leotards doing a back bend taped to his bed, what's that called? Headboard.
Bed frame?
His headboard, to his headboard, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, he has a thing for the sister. So his story is that it was an accident. He accidentally hit her with the ball. He freaked out when he hit her because, one, he probably knows he's not even allowed to be playing with the girls. Two, he keeps saying, my dad's going to be so mad. It was known that his dad was really strict. That my dad's going to be mad. I have to quiet her up. Oh, and also, Maddie was nude from the waist down. There was no signs of sexual assault, but it doesn't mean that this crime wasn't sexually motivated.
Yeah, he claims that when he was like dragging her, her pants and her panties fell off.
Yeah, so he said he even had to like pull her by her shorts, and because she was kind of like fighting him, that her clothes came off. But come on, I don't know, because it was recorded that he was watching the porn before he got Maddie and killed Maddie, and after he killed Maddie, he went back on his computer and would continue to watch this porn. So it's like, come on now. So they have him in, custody. So of course the parents don't want to cut a deal. They got the best lawyer that they can get, and they're trying to say that this was an accident. This wasn't a premeditated murder. But they feel that this is premeditated. They feel that Josh knew that he was going to kill Maddie. Because her autopsy proved that his story that he said was not true. There was no signs of trauma on her face from where she would have got hit with the baseball. There were signs of trauma that he was strangling her for about 15 minutes with a cord. He didn't kill her. So he was just technically torturing this poor girl for 15 minutes. Probably bringing her to the brink of death and bringing her back. Like, this is just my guessing. But 15 minutes of strangling this girl and she did not die. So that means she's probably passing out and coming back. And like, then he bludgeons her to death. And he must have hit her mighty hard for blood to spray up to the top of that ceiling. And also he slashed her throat. He stabbed her in the neck. He stabbed her about 11 times. Her shirt was lifted up. Like, she was naked from the waist down, and her shirt was lifted up. And the stab wounds were all in the chest, neck area. There was no holes in the shirt. So her shirt was lifted while he was stabbing her. It's just crazy. It makes me, I'm already really protective. And you can ask her. I don't let them go anywhere. They don't go to their friend's house. They don't go out because I'm just I've always been overprotective. I've always been a nervous type. But this, like, even these little, you can't even send your your kids out to kids' house. Kids are killing kids. Like, he's a 14-year-old little boy. And he just killed this girl, shoved her under the bed, and act like nothing happened. Act like nothing happened. You would have never thought he was never a suspect. Nothing. You would have never thought that this little boy was capable of killing this little girl. So anyways, they go to trial. They are trialing him. They are trying him as an adult. They are trying him for first-degree murder.
And with parole, and
they're trying to give him life.
Yeah, and recently he's been trying to get out.
Yes. I don't know exactly. After all my research, I haven't checked how much time he has served. Because this was in 1998. And now it's 2021 and he's still in jail. So that's a long time. That's a long time he's been in jail. He's trying to get parole. He's actually been denied, I believe, parole for once because Maddie's sister Jessica, went to court and talked to the parolee board and got his parole denied. So yeah, he got convicted of first-degree murder. I didn't really go into too much of the trial, but if you guys want to read more about the trial and get more information about the trial, there is a book called Child Murderers. That's where I got most of my information, and also a podcast called Morbid. I got my information from there. So if you guys want to look more into the trial and all that, you can do that. I didn't really too much do the research on that part, but I know he did get convicted of first-degree murder. It was proven that it was premeditated, that he planned on killing Maddie. It wasn't because he was scared. It wasn't because there was no proof that she was hit with the baseball. He probably invited her in the house right away. He probably says, "Hey, come in the house," and he knew what he was going to do.
He probably planned to kill her.
Yeah, because he was watching the violent porn with children before he killed Maddie. So he probably already had that idea in his head, which is very sad. It's sad when somebody gets killed anyways, but when a kid is killing another kid, it's just, you can't really fathom that. You can't really wrap your mind around another kid killing another kid, especially on purpose. Like, and that was a very violent way. And it's just very shocking, and it's just, you can't wrap your mind around it, that another kid can kill another kid. So that is the story. Do you have any more thoughts? So that is the story of Maddie Clifton. And give a round of applause for my special guest, Jaden. And Portia will be back. Hopefully, she will. We're going to be filming and we're going to post the next video next Monday. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And I'll see you in the next one.
It was a nightmare.